गा नहीं रही हूँ, कोई गा रहा था इसलिए।
Nadiya Godrumi Nityananda Mahajan Bolo Nadiya Godrumi Nityananda Mahajan Patiyachena Mahata Jivera Karam Patiyachena Mahata Jivera Karam Shadavan Jan Hai, Shadavan Jan Hai Shadavan Jan Hai, Shadavan Jan Hai Shadavan Jane, Shadavan Jane Shadavan Jane, Shadavan Jane Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhu Rajnabhaya Maji E Bhiksha Prabhu Rajnabhaya Maji E Bhiksha Prabhu Rajnabhaya Maji E Bhiksha Bolo Krishna Bhajo Krishna Koro Krishna Shiksha. Bolo Krishna Bhajo Krishna Koro Krishna Shiksha. Shadavan Jane, Shadavan Jane, Shadavan Jane, Shadavan Jane. Bolo Shadavan Jane, Shadavan Jane. Shadavan Jane, Shadavan Jane. Aparadha sunya hoye lo Krishna nam. Aparadha sunya hoye lo Krishna nam. Aparadha sunya hoye lo Krishna nam. Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Dana Pran. Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Dana Pran. Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Dana Pran. Bola Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Dana Pran. Shadavan Jane, Shadavan Jane. Shadavan Jane, Shadavan Jane. Bola Shadavan Jane, Shadavan Jane. Shadavan Jane, Shadavan Jane. Krishnera samsara koro chadiyanachal. Bolo Krishnera samsara koro chadiyanachal. Jive doya Krishna nama sarva dharma san. Bola jive doya Krishna nam sarva dharma san. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Bola Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Premanandi Ki Jai. Akrodha Paramananda Nityananda Rai. Akrodha Paramananda Nityananda Rai. Abhimana Sunya Nitai Nagare Bidai. Bola Abhinandam Sunya Nitai Nagare Bidai. Abhare Nidai Nagare Bidai Nagare Bidai Nagare Bidai Bola Nagare Bidai Nagare Bidai Adama Patita Jiver Tware Tware Kiyam Adama Patita Jiver Tware Tware Kiyam Hari Nama Maha Mantra Dichen Bilaya Bola Amin Hari Nama Maha Mantra Dichen Bilaya Dichena Bilai, Dichena Bilai. Dichena Bilai, Dichena Bilai. Jare teke tare kohe, Dante Chinadori. Jare de kitare kohe Dante Chinadori Amara kiniya loho hologora hari Amare kiniya loho hologora hari Bolo Gora Hari, Bolo Gora Hari. Bolo Gora Hari, Bolo Gora Hari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Eto boli Nityananda, Bhumika Dijai. Eto boli Nityananda Bhumika Dijai Sonara Parvata Jeno Dulate Togai Sonara Parvata Jeno Dulate Togai Gulate lotai, gulate lotai. Dolate lotai, dolate lotai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hey no avatare jar, Ratina Janmilo. Hey no avatare jar, Ratina Janmilo. Lochana bole se papi elo aragelo. Lochana boli se papilo argelo. Elo argelo, elo argelo. Elo argelo, elo argelo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yari de ke tare kohe dante trina dori. Are de ke tare kohe dante trina dori. Amara kiniya loho bolo gorahari. Amare kiniya loho bolo gorahari. Bolo gorahari, bolo gorahari. Bolo gorahari, bolo gorahari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Premanandi Ki Jai. The noble Lord Nityananda is never angry, for he is the personification of supreme transcendental bliss, devoid of any concept of false ego. Nitai wanders about the town of Nadia, going from door to door in the residences of the most fallen and wretched souls. He freely distributes the gift of the Harinama Mahamantra. He exclaims to whoever he sees while holding straw between his teeth, "Please purchase me by worshipping Gaurahari." Saying thus, Nityananda Prabhu rolls about on the ground, appearing like a golden mountain tumbling in the dust. Lochanadas Thakura says, whoever has not experienced the awakening of affection for such an avatara as this, that sinful person simply comes and goes uselessly in the cycle of repeated birth and death. Nityananda ki jai, Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol. Bolo Sukera Kaborgai, Bolo Sukera Kaborgai, Bolo Sukera Kaborgai, Bolo Sukera Kaborgai. Surabit Kunjiti Namherhat, Kuleche Kodanitai. Surabi Kunjiti Namherhat, Kuleche Kodanitai. Bolo Mojara Kotatai, Bolo Mojara Kotatai, Bolo Kojara Kotatai, Bolo Kojara Kotatai. Shadamulye Sudanam, Sehata Tebikai. Shadamulye Sudanam, Sehata Tebikai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jata Bhakta Vrindavasi, Jata Bhakta Vrindavasi. Jata Bhakta Vrindavasi, Jata Bhakta Vrindavasi. Adhikari Dekhinam Bechedarokasin. Adhikari Dekhinam Bechedarokasin. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jadi nama kimbe bai, jadi nama kimbe bai. Jadi nama kimbe bai, jadi nama kimbe bai. Amar sangi chalo mahar kache jai. Amar sanga chalo mahar mahajane kache jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Tumi kimbe Krishna nam, tumi kimbe Krishna nam. Tumi kimbe Krishna nam, tumi Krishna nam. Dasturi loibo ami punaha bekam. Dasturi loibo ami punaha bekam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Doyala Nityananda, Bolo Doyala Nityananda. Bolo Doyala Nityananda, Bolo Doyala Nityananda. Shadamati Loyeden Parama Ananda. Shadamati Loyeden Parama Ananda. एक बार देख ले चक ले जा, एक बार देख ले चक ले जा. एक बार देख ले चक ले जा, एक बार देख ले चक ले जा. Gora bole nitai den sakala samba. Gora bole nitai den sakala samba. Den Sudha Krishna Sika, Den Sudha Krishna Sika. Den Sudha Krishna Shiksha, Den Sudha Krishna Shiksha. Chati Dhamma Vidya Bala Nakore Abhekam. Chadidana Vidya Bala Nakore Abhekam. Amani Chare Maya Jal, Amani Jaya Maya Jal. Amani Jaya Maya Jal, Amani Jaya Maya Jal. Kriya Grihe Tako Vani Tako Natake Janja. Grihitako vanitako natake janja. Aranaiko kalera boy, Aranaiko kalera boy. Aranaiko kalera boy, Aranaiko kalera boy. Achandali dena nama nitai doyamoy. Achandali dena nam nitaya doyamoy. Bhakti vinodadaki bhakti goy. Bhakti vinodadaki, bhakti vinodadaki. Nitai charana bina ar nahi ashray. Nitai charana bina ar nahi ashray. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Tagore Premanande Ki Jai. I am singing news of the great holy tidings. Lord Nityananda himself has opened a marketplace of the holy name in Surabhikunja. He is selling the pure holy name in that marketplace for the price of only one's faith. Lord Nityananda, seeing all the devotees becoming attracted, is selling them the holy name after bargaining with them. Oh, brother, if you want the holy name, then come with me. We must go to that great soul, Nityananda. You will get the name of Krishna. I will take my commission, and all of our desires will be fulfilled. Lord Nityananda is greatly merciful. Taking only one's faith, he gives the highest ecstasy. If he sees only once tears in the eyes while chanting the name Gora, then he gives everything to that person. He gives the pure teachings of Krishna to everyone, not caring for their birth, wealth, knowledge, and strength. Now, giving up the illusory snare of Maya, either remain in household life or in the forest as a sannyasi, for no more troubles remain. There is no more fear of the age of Kali. The merciful Nityananda gives the holy name to even the Chandalas. Bhaktivinoda calls out, except for the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, there is no other shelter. Lord Nityananda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Haribol. Haribol. They all came back? You lift these two. That one and this right here. Yeah, no. We already sang this.
Oh, you already sang this one?
Yeah. One second, let me see.
This one you just sang.
Okay, that's it. No, use that paper to wrap it up.
No, this is a different song.
Okay.
This one is the rabbit.
Okay. Is that enough of them? This next bhajan is a very popular one with Srila Prabhupada. And it says, O Lord Hari, I have spent my life uselessly, having obtained a human birth and having not worshipped Radha and Krishna. I have knowingly drunk poison. The treasure of divine love in Goloka Vrindavana has descended as the congregational chanting of Lord Hari's holy names. Why did my attraction for that chanting never come about? Day and night my heart burns from the fire of the poison of worldliness, and I have not taken the means to relieve it. Lord Krishna, who is the son of the king of Vraja, became the son of Sachi, Lord Chaitanya, and Balaram became Nitai. The holy name delivered all those souls who were lowly and wretched. The two sinners, Jagai and Madai, are evidence of this. O Lord Krishna, son of Nanda, accompanied by the daughter of Rishabhanu, please be merciful to me now. Narottam Das says, O Lord, please do not push me away from your reddish lotus feet, for who is my beloved except for you? Hari Hari Bi Fala Janamagoinu Hari Hari Bi Fala Janamagoinu Manusya Janama Paya Radha Krishna Namajiya Sunjanya Suniya Vishna Kainu Janiya Suniya Vishna Kainu Manusya Janama Paya Radha Krishna Namajiya Manusya Jana Maya Piraya Radha Krishna Bhajaya Janiya Suniya Vishakain Janiya Suniya Vishakainu Golokera Premadana Harinama Golokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtana Ratina Janmi Loke Netai Ratina Janmi Loke Netai Samsara Bisanale Dibanisiya Jale Judaite na koinu upai Judaite na koinu upai Vajendrananda Jai Sachi Sutta Hoilo Se Balarama Hoilo Nitai Hina Hina Jata Chilo Hariname Udarilo Tarakshakshi Jagai Madai Dina Hina Jata Chilo Harinama Udarilo Tarakshakshi Jagai Madai Ha Prabhu Kura Ha Prabhu Nanda Sutta Vishabhanu Sutta Juta Ha Prabhu Nanda Sutta Vishabhanu Sutta Jutta Koruna Koro Ebaro Koruna Koro Ebaro Naruttama Dasa Koi Nate Hilo Ranga Pai Naruttama Dasa Koi Nate Hilo Ranga Pai Toma Bina Ke Ache Mamara Toma Bina Ke Ache Amara Naruttama Dasa Koi Nate Hilo Ranga Pai Naruttama Dasa Koi Nate Hilo Ranga Pai Tomara Bina Ke Ache Amara Toma Bina Ke Ache Amara Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nitya Gora Haribo, Haribo. Gora Haribo, Nitya Gora Haribo, Nitya Gora Haribo, Haribo, Gora Haribo, Nitya Gora Haribo. O Lord Hari, I have spent my life uselessly, having obtained a human birth and having not worshipped Radha and Krishna. I have knowingly drunk poison. The treasure of divine love in Goloka Vrindavana has descended as the congregational chanting of Lord Hari's holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Why did my attraction for that chanting never come about? Day and night my heart burns from the fire of the poison of worldliness, and I have not taken the means to relieve it. Lord Krishna, who is the son of the king of Vraja, became the son of Sachi, Lord Chaitanya, and Balarama became Nitai. The holy name delivered all those souls who were lowly and wretched. The two sinners, Jagai and Madai, are evidence of this. O Lord Krishna, son of Nanda, accompanied by the daughter of Rishabhanu, Shrimati Radharani, please be merciful to me now. Narottam Das says, O Lord, please do not push me away from your reddish lotus feet, for who is my beloved except for you? Gaur Premanandi. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Bolo Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Shri Gaura Bhakta Vinda Bolo Gaura Bhakta Vinda Gaura Bhakta Vinda Bolo Gaura Bhakta Vinda Gaura Bhakta Vinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Bolo Hari Bol Gora Hari Bol Nita Gora Hari Bol Gaur Premanandi Haribo, Haribo. So today we're going to hear about a very interesting pastime concerning Lord Nityananda and his devotee, who is Menikatana Ramdas. So in the Adi Lila, chapter 5, verse number 157, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says, the ocean of Lord Nityananda's glories is infinite and unfathomable. Only by his mercy can one touch even a drop of it. Please listen to another glory of his mercy. He made a fallen living entity climb to the highest limit. To disclose it is not proper, for it should be kept as confidential. It should be kept as confidential as the Vedas. Yet I shall speak of it to make his mercy, or Nityananda's mercy, known to all. O Lord Nityananda, I write of your mercy out of great exultation. Please forgive me for my offenses. Lord Nityananda Prabhu had a servant named Sri Minikatana Ramdasa, who was a reservoir of love. At my house, now this is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami speaking. He says, at my house there was Sankirtan day and night, and therefore he, meaning Menikatana Ramdas, visited there, having been invited. Absorbed in emotional love, he sat in my courtyard, and all the Vaishnavas bowed down at his feet. In a joyful mood of love of God, he sometimes climbed upon the shoulder of someone, offering obeisances, and sometimes he struck others with his flute or mildly slapped them. When someone saw the eyes of Menikatana Ramdas, tears would automatically flow from his own eyes, for a constant shower of tears flowed from the eyes of Menikatana Ramdas. Sometimes there were eruptions of ecstasy like kadamba flowers on some parts of his body, and sometimes one limb would be stunned while another would be trembling. Whenever he shouted aloud the name Nityananda, Haribol, the people around him were filled with great wonder and astonishment. One respectable Brahmana named Sri Gunarnava Mishra was serving the deity. When Menikatana was seated in the yard, this Brahmana did not offer him respect. Seeing this, Sri Ramdasa became angry and spoke. Here I find the second Romaharshana Sutta, who did not stand to show honor when he saw Lord Balarama. After saying this, he danced and sang to his heart's content, but the Brahmana, Gunarnava Mishra, did not become angry, for he was then serving Lord Krishna. He's the pujari. Minikatana Ramdasa was a great devotee of Lord Nityananda. When he entered the house of Krishnadas Kaviraja, Gunarnava Mishra, the priest, who was worshipping the deity installed in the house, did not receive him very well. A similar event occurred when Romaharshana Sutta was speaking in the great assembly of sages at Naimisharanya. Lord Baladeva entered the great assembly, but since Romaharshana Sutta was on the Vyasasana, he did not get down to offer respect to Lord Balaram or Baladeva. The behavior of Gunarnava Mishra indicated that he had no great respect for Lord Nityananda, and this idea was not at all palatable to Menikatana Ramdasa. For this reason, the mentality of Menikatana Ramdasa is never deprecated by devotees. So this is very interesting because Lord Nityananda did not himself appear, but Menikatana Ramdas is one of his principal devotees. So the fact that he didn't respect the devotee of Lord Nityananda, for Menikatana it meant he didn't respect his guru. And therefore he felt very sad. But he shrugged off his sadness by chanting and dancing Hare Krishna. At the end of the festival, Menikatana Ramdas went away, offering his blessings to everyone. At that time, he had some controversy with my brother. So Krishnadas Kaviraj is living in a family house in which there's several generations. This was normal in the Bengal and in other places also. And he says, my brother had firm faith in Lord Chaitanya, but only a dim glimmer of faith in Lord Nityananda. Knowing this, Sri Ramdasa felt unhappy in his mind. I then rebuked my brother So it's not only the Brahmana, but it's the brother also that does not have much respect for Lord Nityananda. Right? Now, Lord Nityananda is an incarnation of Balaram, Krishna's brother. And so, if one has respect for Krishna, but not for Balaram, who is a plenary expansion of Krishna, that is actually a great offense, because there's no difference between Krishna and Balaram. These two brothers, I told him, are like one body. They are identical manifestations. If you do not believe in Lord Nityananda, you will fall down. If you have faith in one but disrespect the other, your logic is like the logic of accepting half a hen. So there was once a farmer, and he had a son, and one day the son said to his father, "Hey, I got a great idea, Dad. This is going to save you a lot of money." So the father said, "What is that?" He said, "You see this hen? We're feeding the mouth, and it's passing its egg from the bottom. So if we cut off the head, then we'll just get the egg and we don't have to feed him." Of course, he didn't have all his nuggets sharpened in his head, right? So that's called the logic of the half hen. So the father was not very much sharper than his son, so they cut off the head of the chicken, and guess what? You think they got any eggs? No, they killed the chicken. Right? So this is the logic of the half chicken. In the same way, if one has respect for Lord Chaitanya but not for Lord Nityananda, well, instead of cutting off the head of the Lord, you cut your head off by that disrespect for Lord Nityananda. So if you have faith in one but disrespect the other, your logic is like the logic of accepting half a hen. It would be better to be an atheist by slighting both brothers than a hypocrite by believing in one and slighting the other. Thus, Sri Ramdasa broke his flute in anger and went away, and at that time my brother fell down. I have thus described the power of the servants of Lord Nityananda. Now I shall describe another characteristic of his mercy. He's talking about Nityananda's mercy. That night, Lord Nityananda appeared to me in a dream because of my good quality in chastising my brother. In the village of Janmatapura, which is near Naihati, Lord Nityananda appeared to me in a dream. There is now, this is a purport by Srila Prabhupada. He says, there is now a railway line to Janmatapuri. If one wants to go there, he can take the train on the Katwa railway line and go directly to the station known as Salata. From that station, one can go directly to Janmatapuri. Obviously, there was no train line 500 years ago. It's only after the British came and laid the tracks to the longest train system in the world. That's in India. I fell at his feet. So this is Krishnadas Kaviraj now saying, he sees Lord Nityananda in his prayer. He falls at his feet, offering my obeisances, and he then placed his own lotus feet on my head. Arise, get up, he told me again and again. Upon rising, I was greatly astonished to see his beauty. He had a glossy blackish complexion, and his tall, strong, heroic stature made him seem like Cupid himself. He had beautifully formed hands, arms, and legs, and eyes like lotus flowers. He wore a silk cloth with a silk turban on his head. He wore golden earrings on his ears and golden amulets and bangles. He wore tinkling anklets on his feet and a garland of flowers around his neck. His body was anointed with sandalwood pulp, and he was nicely decorated with tilaka. His movements surpassed those of a maddened elephant. His face was more beautiful than millions upon millions of moons, and his teeth were like pomegranate seeds because of his chewing betel nuts. His body moved to and fro, right and left, for he was absorbed in ecstasy. He chanted, "Krishna, Krishna," in a deep voice. His red stick moving in his hand, he seemed like a maddened lion. All around the four sides of his feet were bumblebees. His devotees, dressed like cowherd boys, surrounded his feet like so many bees and also chanted, "Krishna, Krishna," absorbed in ecstatic love. Some of them played horns and flutes, and others danced and sang. Some of them offered betel nuts, and others waved chamara fans about him. Thus I saw such opulence in Lord Nityananda Swarupa. His wonderful form, qualities, and pastimes are all transcendental. I was overwhelmed with transcendental ecstasy, not knowing anything else. Then Lord Nityananda smiled and spoke to me as follows. "Oh, my dear Krishnadasa, do not be afraid. Go to Vrindavana, for there you will attain all things." After saying this, he directed me toward Vrindavana by waving his hand. Then he disappeared with his associates. I fainted and fell to the ground, my dream broken. When I regained consciousness, I saw that morning had come. I thought about what I had seen and heard and concluded that the Lord had ordered me to proceed to Vrindavana at once. So he's in Bengal, so that's a pretty long trek. There was no train at that time. That very second I started for Vrindavana. By his mercy, I reached there in great happiness. All glory to Lord Nityananda Balarama, by whose mercy I have attained shelter in the transcendental abode of Vrindavana. All glory to the merciful Lord Nityananda, by whose mercy I have attained shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatana. By his mercy, I have attained the shelter of the great personality, Sri Raghunatha Das Goswami, and by his mercy, I have found the refuge of Sri Swarup Damodara. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Anyone desiring to become an expert in the service of Sri Radha and Krishna should always aspire to be under the guidance of Swarup Damodar Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Raghunath Dasa Goswami. To come under the protection of the Goswamis, one must get the mercy and grace of Nityananda Prabhu. The author has tried to explain this fact in these two verses. By the mercy of Sanatan Goswami, I learned the final conclusions of devotional service, and by the grace of Sri Rupa Goswami, I have tasted the highest nectar of devotional service. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sri Sanatana Goswami Prabhu, the teacher of the science of devotional service, wrote several books, of which the Brihad Bhagavatamrita is very famous. Anyone who wants to know about the subject matter of devotees, devotional service, and Krishna must read this book. Sanatan Goswami also wrote a special commentary on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam known as the Dasama Tipani, which is so excellent that by reading it one can understand very deeply the pastimes of Krishna in his exchange of loving activities. Another famous book by Sanatana Goswami is the Hari Bhakti Vilasa, which states the rules and regulations for all divisions of Vaishnavas. Namely, Vaishnava householders, Vaishnava brahmacharis, Vaishnava vanaprasthas, and Vaishnava sannyasis. This book was especially written, however, for Vaishnava householders. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami has described Sanatana Goswami in his prayer, Vilipita Kushan Manjali. And in verse 6, where he has expressed his obligation to Sanatana Goswami in the following words: I was unwilling to drink the nectar of devotional service, possessed of renunciation. But Sanatana Goswami, out of his causeless mercy, made me drink it, even though I was otherwise unable to do so. Therefore, he is an ocean of mercy. He is very compassionate to fallen souls like me, and thus it is my duty to offer my respectful obeisances unto him, unto his lotus feet. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also, in the last section of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, specifically mentions the name of Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and Jiva Goswami, and offers his respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of these spiritual masters, as well as Raghunath Dasa. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami also accepted Sanatana Goswami as the teacher of the science of devotional service. Srila Rupa Goswami is described in the Bhakti Rasacharya, or one who knows, is described as the Bhakti Rasacharya, or one who knows the essence of devotional service. His famous book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, is the science of devotional service. And by reading this book, one can understand the meaning of devotional service. Another of his famous books is the Ujjvala Silamani. In this book, he elaborately explains the loving affairs and transcendental activities of Lord Krishna and Radharani. So, here we see that Lord Nityananda appears in a dream to Krishnadas Kaviraj and tells him to immediately leave the house of his brother. Why? Because the number one asset in Krishna consciousness is to have good association of genuine devotees who actually follow all the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. Not half of them, not a few of them, but all of them. And in the association of such devotees, one can make tangible spiritual advancement. Our problem is associating with people who are not actually lovers of Krishna. So, in the association of people who have mixed allegiances or mixed feelings about God, or have no feelings about God, one loses the taste for spiritual life. But in the association of people who are very proactive in serving Krishna and respecting the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness, one can make very tangible and quick advancement in spiritual life. So tell me who your friends are, and I can tell you who you are. So if you hang out with people that are engaged in the different pillars or the different types of sinful activity, and there are four major pillars of sin. By the way, it says the root of sin is deliberate disobedience of the laws of nature by disregarding the proprietorship of God. So when we think that things belong to us, actually nothing belongs to us, and even this body doesn't belong to us. Everything belongs to Krishna, because everything is coming from him. The earth, water, fire, air, ether, the five Mahabhutas are great material elements, and then the senses, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, the skin, and then the objects of the senses, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, feeling, and dusting, and seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and then the 5 working senses, which are the arms, the legs, the tongue, the genital, and the anus. All these things have been given to us by Krishna. Nobody else manufactured them. You can't buy them in Home Depot or Lowe's or, my God, Amazon. Imagine, Amazon doesn't have everything. You see, you can't get any of these things. Only Krishna has supplied these things. So therefore, our body, our mind, he's also given us the mind, the intelligence, and the ego, the self. So all these things have been given to us by Krishna. Therefore, nothing belongs to us. And therefore, real education is to learn how to use everything in the service of Krishna. Then you have got a real education. But that's not what's being taught in schools today, or in colleges, or graduate schools, or on the internet, or on social media, or on the television, or in almost all the books in the library. What they're teaching is how to self-indulge, which means how to work for your own for our own sense gratification, and the hell with Krishna. So that is a sick mentality. And what do you get out of that type of mentality? A sick society. Look at how many hospitals we have in the United States. They're all over the place. Why do we have so many hospitals? What do you think, Prabhu?
People are getting more and more sick.
Because more and more people are getting sick. Why do you have so many psychologists? Because it's not only sickness of the body, it's sickness of the mind also. You see. So, and a sick society is one in which people kill their own babies, kill their elders. You know, now if you want to get rid of your grandmom, you just convince her to go to Oregon, and she can commit suicide legally. So this type of society in which every year they kill over 80 million cows, 1 billion fish, and 1 billion chickens, 60 million pigs, 60 million sheep, who knows how many rabbits, and horses also. In France they eat horses. They used to eat horses here too. They still do. But now they've got the most cheapest meat now is alligator meat. I went to this one festival once. We had a booth there, and we had prasadam. We had a prasadam booth, but the guy next to us came from Florida. Guess what he was selling? Alligator meat, and there was a big line to eat alligator meat. Did you know that? Yeah, and now people are buying alligator meat because it's cheap because of the inflation. It's the cheapest meat out there. So get ready. So in a society like this, where there's massive killing, not only of babies, or in other words, fetuses, every year they kill 1 million to 1.5 million fetuses. That's a lot. In this country, India beats the United States, by the way. They kill more fetuses than the United States. And then you have Europe, and you have Australia, and you have all these other countries, South America. So just imagine the magnitude of the killing that's going on, and then all the animals that they're killing. So therefore, this is a sick society. That's why there's always war. That's why there's sometimes famine. That's why there's economic downturns. That's why there's hurricanes. That's why there's tsunamis. That's why there's earthquakes. All these things are happening because people are breaking or violating the laws of nature. So, the number one positive thing a person can do is associate with genuine devotees. And the worst thing a person can do is associate continually with people who have no wit at all for God. So, therefore, Lord Nityananda appeared in the dream of Krishnadas Kaviraj and told him, he didn't say, pack your bags and leave next week. He said, immediately leave and go to Vrindavan and associate with Sri Rupa and Sanatan Goswami and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami and Jiva Goswami and so forth. And guess what? That's exactly what he did. And when he was in his 90s, he wrote this gigantic book called the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He wasn't sure he could finish it because he was very old, but he received the Shakti, the power to do it, because of his purity. How do you become pure? You take the advice of genuine devotees. That's how you get pure, because they're going to advise the same thing that Krishna advises. So the most important thing is not chanting Hare Krishna. The most important thing is associating with devotees who chant Hare Krishna. That way you will never stop chanting. But if you just chant on your own, there's a very good chance that you'll stop chanting eventually, and especially if you associate with non-devotees. Okay, so are there any questions about this? I'll give you a chance to think about it. Okay, so then, no questions? No question? Question? Question, Krishna Chaitanya? Ladies, any questions? No, okay. Okay, so we're going to read one more pastime of Lord Nityananda. This is 2. This is a nice book. That is the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita. You have one like this?
Not like this.
Oh,
All the leelas are in this
just the whole book.
one? The whole.
Yeah. It's got, Bible paper. Okay, let's see. This is 3234. I have a one book edition of the Shiman Bhagavatam also.
Oh, really? What?
Yeah.
What Bhagavatam?
It's very rare.
Yeah.
It's very rare.
Massive.
No? No, it's like this.
The fonts will be small.
Yeah, I mean, it's readable, just like this is readable. Even someone who has bad vision like me, I can read it. So that means anybody can read it. Okay, so there's another interesting... Let's see where that is. 3, 2, 34, 3, 2... Okay, it says that Lord Chaitanya always appeared in 4 places. This is simultaneously. In the household temple of Mother Sachi, his mother. In the places where Sri Nityananda Prabhu danced. In the house of Srivasa Pandita during congregational chanting. And in the house of Raghava Pandita. He appeared because his attraction to the love of his attraction to the love of his devotees. That is his natural characteristic. So, if you want Nityananda to come to you, you just show your love for him. He'll come to you. And he can come simultaneously to hundreds, thousands of places at once, just as he did to these 4 places 500 years ago. And not only Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya also. Lord Chaitanya always appeared in 4 places: in the household temple of Mother Sachi, in the places where Sri Nityananda Prabhu danced, in the house of Srivas Pandita during the congregational chanting, and in the house of Raghava Pandita. He appeared because of his attraction to the love of his devotees. That is his natural characteristic. So even Prabhupada confirmed this. One time there was a program, I think it was in London, and not many people came. And one devotee apologized to Prabhupada. He said, "Oh, Prabhupada, sorry, nobody came." I think it was New York. He said, "Oh, I'm sorry, nobody came." He said, "Oh, you did not see Narada Muni?" Devotee were looking around. He said, "Oh, he has come. I saw him." So, to have the eyes to see Krishna and his pure devotees, one must have a pure heart and chant Hare Krishna and dance in ecstasy. And then even if you don't see the Lord, you will feel his presence because of the continual increase in the ecstatic feelings. Okay, so there's one other thing I wanted to talk about. Let's see. The soul is eternal, so the soul never dies. And therefore, and how about Krishna, who's pure soul? In other words, he doesn't have a material body, he only has a pure spiritual body. So he can appear in any place at any time. It all depends on our love and devotion for Krishna. So there's another point. It says, Lord Chaitanya is greatly influenced by the love of his devotees. Therefore, wherever there is pure devotion to the Lord himself, subdued by such love, appears and his devotees see him. There you go. You ever hear this before, Prabhu? You see? Prabhuji here, he came just in time to hear this. Did you hear it? Did you hear it? No, I know. No. Let me read it again, okay? I don't want you to miss one word here. Lord Chaitanya is greatly influenced by the love of his devotees. Therefore, wherever there is pure devotion to the Lord himself, subdued by such love, appears and his devotees see him. You can see him in your house, Prabhu.
You can see in your heart.
I don't know about my heart, but you.
Your heart is mandir, I would say. You have pure love and devotion service.
This one verse, hearing this one verse is enough to have a big festival today. Yeah. Have you ever heard this before? This is amazing. We have to see. That's why I say, whenever, especially on Sunday, when there's a Sunday feast program, all the devotees should be here on time at 5 o'clock and begin to have ecstatic kirtans. They shouldn't just show up like in the middle of the arti ceremony, 7:15, right? They should come, at 5 o'clock, everybody, and sit down and reverently chant Hare Krishna. That, you don't realize how powerful a thing that is. It's extremely powerful. When a new person walks in and sees, what? All these people are chanting and dancing in ecstasy like this, that is very, very impelling. That is very, very impelling. If you want to preach, that's the way to preach. And the same thing, when you go out on Sankirtan, there should be a very large number of devotees. Like today, we're going to go out. So raise your hand if you're going to come on Sankirtan today. I'll close my eyes first. And then I'll peek through like this. How many hands are there? Whoa.
I have a class, Maharaj.
Oh my God. You have a glass. Well, you see, if you go out with 4 people, it doesn't make much of an impression on people. You go out with 50 or 100 people, it makes a big impression.
Yeah.
You see, so we're not preaching here. Preaching means going out with a large contingent of devotees and chanting and dancing in ecstasy. And preaching also means being in the temple at 5 o'clock Sunday afternoon, even before everyone comes, and chant ecstatically with love in your and tears in your eyes, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Then you will see a real tsunami of devotion. Not only the devotees, but anybody that comes. See? And in every Saturday and Sunday, the whole congregation should be here for class. Class is 6:15 in the morning. The whole congregation. And I said, you probably haven't heard this. Anyone who doesn't come is going to be punished. They're not going to get one piece of pizza on a Sunday. So you can tell your kids this. Starting this week. You know, if they don't come Saturday and Sunday, 6:15 in the morning for class, they're not getting any pizza. And they're definitely not getting any bun roll with vegetables in it. That's another thing we're making today. So this is the last time we're giving it out. Next week we're going to have we're going to have what's called the list of shame. Just like there's the hall of shame, there's going to be a list of shame. All those parents who are initiated and their kids who don't come, they get their name on the list that's going to be on the door of the temple.
Hall of shame.
Hall of shame, yes. So that's the punishment. And that's a severe punishment. No pizza. Come on. Okay. So one more point, and then we'll have more kirtan and arti. So one more point is 1386. It's good to have one book like this, the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'm going to show you my one book Bhagavatam. It's like a relic. 2, 3, 134, 2, 3, 134. Okay. Okay, so here it says, the Lord, meaning Lord Chaitanya, danced for 3 hours. Sometimes the symptoms of ecstasy were visible, including pleasure, moroseness, and many other waves of ecstatic emotional love for Krishna. The Lord had been fasting for 3 days, and after that period, he took eatables sumptuously. Thus, when he danced and jumped high, he became a little fatigued. Being fully absorbed in love of Godhead, he would not understand his fatigue, but Nityananda Prabhu, catching him, stopped his dancing. Although the Lord was fatigued, Nityananda Prabhu kept him steady by holding him. At that time, Advaitacharya suspended the chanting, and by rendering various services to the Lord, made him lie down to take rest. For 10 continuous days, Advaitacharya held feasting and chanting in the evening. He served the Lord in this way without any change. In the morning, Chandrasekhara seated Sachimata, Lord Chaitanya's mother, in a palanquin and brought her from her house with many devotees. In this way, all the people of the town of Nadia, including all women, boys, and old men, came there. Thus the crowd increased. In the morning, after regular duties were completed, and the Lord was chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the people accompanied Sachimata to the house of Advaitacharya. As soon as Mother Sachi appeared on the scene, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell before her like a stick. Mother Sachi began to cry, taking the Lord on her lap. Upon seeing each other, they both became overwhelmed. Seeing the Lord's head without hair, Mother Sachi became greatly agitated. Out of love, she began to caress the body of the Lord. Sometimes she kissed his face and tried to observe him carefully, but because her eyes were filled with tears, she could not see. Understanding that Lord Chaitanya had accepted the renounced order of life, Sachimata, crying, said to the Lord, "My darling Nimai, do not be cruel like Vishwarupa, your elder brother." Mother Sachi continued, "After accepting the renounced order, Vishwarupa never again gave me audience. If you do like him, that will certainly be the death of me." The Lord replied, "My dear mother, please hear. This body belongs to you. I do not possess anything. This body was raised by you, and it comes from you. I cannot repay this debt, even in millions of births. Knowingly or unknowingly, I have accepted this renounced order. Still, I shall never be indifferent to you. My dear mother, wherever you ask me to stay, I shall stay, and whatever you order, I shall execute." Saying this, the Lord offered obeisances to his mother again and again, and Mother Sachi, being pleased, took him again and again on her lap. Then Advaitacharya took Mother Sachi within the house. The Lord was immediately ready to meet all the devotees. So you see here the incredible love of Mother Sachi for her son, Lord Chaitanya. Imagine if your son was Krishna himself, right? It would be unbelievable, the love that you would feel for him. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not just Krishna, it's Radha and Krishna. That's even more, let's say, impelling and attractive. Now the main thing here is that Lord Chaitanya says, whatever you say, that's what I'm going to do. So she tells him later on, stay in Jagannath Puri. It's not that far away, and I'll be able to get news of you. But we just read that Lord Chaitanya would appear, even though he was far away, he would appear in the house of Mother Sachi because of her love for him. And she would put food on the table for him every day. And for Lord Nityananda also. And they would come and eat it. And she would see it. These are mysterious things. That's why they're not in 3 dimensions. We are living in 3 dimensions: length, width, and height. The 4th dimension is when those 3 dimensions become infinite. Therefore, Vamanadev can stretch his foot right up. Although he's a midget, he can stretch his foot right up to the end of the universe and crack the universe and let in 1 or 2 drops of the causal ocean, which have become the Ganges River and the Mandakini River in heavenly planets, and the Ganges River on the Earth planet. But the 5th dimension is this pure love and devotion for Radha and Krishna. And this is what they are experiencing, even on this earth. We just read about it, where Lord Chaitanya is in 4 places simultaneously and revealing himself to his devotees who have extreme love for him. So, if we understand what is the 4th dimension and what is ultimately the 5th dimension of reality, then you see, if you hear about how nice the weather is in Hawaii, so what's the natural thing that you desire?
We want to go there and
You want to go to Hawaii. Now, if you hear about the incredible things that happen in the 5th dimension, then you would want to experience it. And it is possible to experience it. It's not something impossible. Anyone can experience this because the Lord is very merciful, and especially to his devotees who are practicing Krishna consciousness seriously and eventually developing pure love for him. That pure love for him is the highest achievement that the living entity can achieve. Pure love for Krishna. So in when it comes to education, that this is educational. We're hearing things we never heard before today. I mean, have you heard these things before? No. How many years you been in the movement?
12.
Okay. Have you ever heard these things before?
No.
How many years you been in the movement?
Yeah, about 10 or 11.
Good thing you came today. Otherwise, you would have missed it. So this is what we have to hear. If you don't hear, it's just like, there's so much advertisement for going to Florida in the wintertime in Seattle, or going to Cancun in the wintertime in Seattle, or going to Hawaii in the middle of the winter. It's cold and it's raining and it's snowing. So you say, well, this is too much. I got to take a 2-week vacation to Cancun or Mazatlan So, what about a permanent vacation to go loca? Haribol. That's a real vacation, right? Because all they do there is chant, dance, feast, have fun. They don't have to eat. They don't have to sleep. They just do it for fun because it's Mahaprasadam. So here we see that the extreme love of Mother Sachi for Lord Chaitanya is inexplicable. There's no words, no adjectives actually to explain the depth of it. But this is what's happening in the spiritual world. This is where we should be. Right? Now, you can be in the spiritual world right now, here, because these things took place here, right, on the earth, 500 years ago. That means that we could also experience these things if we just purify our mind and our desires to simply love Krishna. Now the gopis, they're not scholars. They're not Vedantists. But they are the greatest devotees because they purely love Krishna. So this is the highest achievement of the human being. And when you achieve that high pinnacle of pure love for Krishna, you also concomitantly receive all knowledge and all renunciation. It's the solution to all life's problems. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Are there any questions?
Maharaj, what is the fourth dimension?
Fourth dimension is where the 3 dimensions, length, width, and breadth, become infinite. Therefore, for example, Hanuman, he can fly through the air with a mountain, carrying a mountain. He can fly through the air hundreds, actually from the Himalayas all the way to Sri Lanka. That's 1,000 miles or more. That's the fourth dimension, where everything becomes infinite. Prabhupada also says if you go to the moon, the gravity is different there. So you can fly through the air. Well, if you go there, but of course you'd have this very heavy space suit and and tanks of oxygen and things like that to keep you alive. But if you could go to the moon, you would be able to fly through the air and carry very heavy things with you, because the gravity is different there. So Hanuman, he was in the fourth dimension. Therefore, he could do these things. But we just read about the fifth dimension now. So that should be our goal in life. Hare Krishna.
So Maharaj, this going over through the dimensions, like fourth and fifth, is a progressive stage, or if you reach fourth, you will reach fifth also, right?
No, fifth dimension is something very special. It's not something mechanical. You have to love Krishna completely,
So
with no other desire.
So looks like the fourth dimension looks like more like a siddhis or the yogis kind of a thing that they achieve, and fifth dimension is for the bhaktas kind of a thing. It's driven by pure love.
Something like that, yes.
So even you can kind of go to the fifth dimension without the fourth dimension.
Well, look at Narada Muni. He's in the fourth and fifth dimension. He's flying through space without an airplane, without a rocket, without a bird, right? And he also can go to Vaikuntha and talk to Krishna. And he also can go to Narak and save people in Narak, you see. So he's completely free because of his pure love for Krishna. You want freedom, Swaraj, and become Krishna conscious. You get real freedom. We don't realize what our potential is. We're not hearing enough. We have tremendous potential as a human being. In fact, I'll share something with you. This is in Adi Lila 5th chapter, and it says, that, one second. Yeah. It says, there are unlimited Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky, and the ratio of these planets to the material planets in the material sky is 3-to-1. Thus, the poor materialist is busy making political adjustment on a planet that is most insignificant in God's creation. To say nothing of this planet Earth, the whole universe, with innumerable planets throughout the galaxies, is comparable to a single mustard seed in a bag full of mustard seeds. But the poor materialist makes plans to live comfortably here and thus wastes his valuable human energy in something that is doomed to frustration. Instead of wasting his time with business speculations, he should seek the life of plain living and high spiritual thinking, and thus save himself from perpetual materialistic unrest. Even if a materialist wants to enjoy developed material facilities, he can transfer himself to planets where he can experience material pleasures much more advanced than those available on Earth. The best plan is to prepare oneself to return to the spiritual sky after leaving the body. However, if one is intent on enjoying material facilities, one can transfer himself to other planets in the material sky by utilizing yogic powers. The playful spaceships of the astronauts are but childish entertainments and are of no use for this purpose. The Astanga Yoga system is a materialistic art of controlling air by transferring it from the stomach to the navel, from the navel to the heart, from the heart to the collarbone, from there to the eyeballs, and from there to the cerebellum, and from there to any desired planet. The velocities of air and light are taken into consideration by the material scientist, but he has no information of the velocity of the mind and intelligence. We have some limited experience of the velocity of the mind because in the moment, one can transfer our minds to places hundreds of thousands of miles away. Intelligence is even finer. Finer than intelligence is the soul, which is not matter like mind and intelligence, but is spirit or antimatter. The soul is hundreds of thousands of times finer and more powerful than intelligence. We can only imagine the velocity of the soul in its traveling from one planet to another. Needless to say, the soul travels by its own strength and not with the help of any kind of material vehicle. So it says here, the bestial civilization of eating, sleeping, fearing, and sense gratifying has misled modern man into forgetting how powerful a soul he has. Okay, now listen to this very carefully. I'm going to pass the hat around after this because you have to put some donation in it because this is real This is very high quality knowledge here.
On behalf, we will do it.
We'll set his hoodie. We'll take his hoodie around.
That's a hundi.
It's a hoodie hundi. As we have already described, the soul is a spiritual spark many, many times more illuminating, dazzling, and powerful than the sun, moon, or electricity. Human life is spoiled when man does not realize his real identity with his soul. Lord Chaitanya appeared with Lord Nityananda to save man from this type of misleading civilization. So, do you actually believe that your soul, you have a soul, I have a soul, you have a soul, everybody has a soul that's eternal? Do you believe that it's more powerful than the sun? Well, I'll give you the proof. I'll give you the proof right now. It's very simple. Vivaswan is the demigod that controls the sun. He controls it. Am I right?
Yeah.
Brahma is a jiva like us, so is Vivaswan. He's like a jiva like us. Brahma is the secondary creator of the entire material universe, and he controls the universe. There's two examples of jivas like us who are more powerful than the sun. That is our potential. Do they teach this? You teach this to your kids? To your child? You teach this to your kids, Prabhu? Did you know this? You did.
I knew about that soul is powerful than the sun, but
Yeah,
the
I heard
analogy-
this in your class only. Several times I heard in your class only.
So we should take this seriously. We don't realize how powerful we are. But of course, if you're a twisted person, you'll use that power to exploit others. So you cannot get that power until you're completely purified of the desire to dominate material nature. Okay, so we'll stop right there. Thank you very much.
China was claiming that they made some machine which can generate 3 or 5 times more power than sun.
No, they haven't made that, Prabhu. They're still trying to make it. They're
Yeah.
trying to imitate the fusion of the sun. They have about 50 countries that are donating money. It runs into the hundreds and billions of dollars to make this fusion machine in southern France. And they claim that they'll be able to do it by 2050.
No, this is different. This is Chinese product.
No.
Recently, there was an article in the newspaper. They said China made some machine which can generate 3 or 5 times more power than.
No, listen. They say that I saw this advertisement. There's a little thing like this. You put it in your car, and you'll save hundreds and thousands of dollars
Yeah.
in your lifetime on gas. I know some people have bought that little thing. It doesn't work. It's made in Xinjiang.
Yeah.
The only thing they make perfectly are viruses.
Yeah.
That's their best to export. They sell it to every country in the world. Right?
More funnier than that is the virus, the corona testing kit. It's made in China.
Yeah, of course, because they know how to test for it. They made the virus, right? Haribo. Okay, so now we have Arti.